So let's talk about invention. Alfred, I know you have some experience with this. Brian, I wanted to bring my inventions. I have done two in my life. One is a wind-up watch for the candidates called the election watch, and the other is a fake pair of Google Glass called Faux Glass that only cost $19. So both were marginally successful. But I think everybody wants to know about the process of invention. And so why don't we tell them what you know, tell us a little bit about yourself, and take it away.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Robin. And please, everyone, forgive me. I found out about an hour ago I have strep throat, so I'll get through it. But please be patient. If I have to cough, I'll go on mute. But so, Robin, thank you again for having me. It's so interesting because especially all the events that you do, most of the time when you're at these trade shows or virtual trade shows or whatever it is, there are new products out there, innovation. The buyers are going to these trade show booths and saying, all right, show me what's new. And if you don't have anything new, you got the same old stuff. So they're looking for innovation, invention, and that's what I am going to go over with you today. So it really doesn't matter who you are, right, Robin? You could be a doctor, a lawyer, unemployed, a senior citizen, student. At some point or another, you're coming up with an idea. And that's what I'm going to go over with you today is when you do come up with an idea, what do you do with it? So let's get to it.
Yeah. And Brian, you can brag a little bit. You have like 14 patents on things, right?
All right.
These inventions.
That's a good start. So, a little bit about me. I'm an inventor. I have 15 issued patents. I've licensed products, so I receive royalties from them. I manufacture products locally here in the US and overseas. And I've been that inventor coach, as they call me, for the last 18 plus years now. I had about 3 years myself as an on air guest on QVC. So that was very exciting. I've authored 3 books. My latest one is How to Make Money with Your Invention Idea. And I also I've been running inventor groups for 16 years, and then I converted it into the National Inventor Club online, which is rolled into my app, one of my latest inventions last year is the Inventor Smart Community app. So it's available on Google Play and Apple App Store. And I'm really, really excited about it. It's for innovators, inventors, entrepreneurs that are able to collaborate, social media, networking, resources. Everybody's kind of helping each other out there, and that's what I love. And that's kind of why I do all this, Robin, is to get the word out, give people good, solid advice so they can make better decisions along their journey. All right. So you have this big idea. So are you somebody that has had an idea in the past and you go, I can't believe it. That was my idea. That I came up with that idea, and look at now this person's making gazillion dollars from it. Okay, so maybe you have a woulda, coulda, shoulda story, or are you working on one right now and you tuned into this to maybe pick up some tips and advice? Or when you do come up with an idea, you'll be ready. And that's what I want to do is plant the seed for you. So when you do have an idea, you'll know what to do first, second, third, fourth, fifth. And ideas don't discriminate, right? You can wake up in the morning, you're getting out of bed, then you're in the bathroom, you're brushing your teeth, then you're going into the kitchen and you're making yourself breakfast. Maybe you're not, maybe you're taking something to the office, then you're in the car, or maybe you have public transportation you're taking. So all these different things that are going on in your life on a daily basis, there's something that could annoy you, or you see something that you're doing something that could annoy you, or you're seeing somebody else do something that might annoy you. So that's why I say ideas don't discriminate. It doesn't matter, they can come at any time. And if you're not ready for it, poof, it's gone. So let's let's kind of go through what this might look like. So whoop, I think I went too far here. There we go. So when I come up with an idea, and you might come up with an idea, people get very excited. Oh my gosh, I am going to be this billionaire, gazillionaire, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to make as much money as I can from this idea. But they don't do a simple search. And I'm not saying you might have come up with like this really cool name and you're putting it in Google and you're like, oh my gosh, it didn't come up, right? I'm talking about putting in descriptive words, descriptive search terms that describe what it is that you're coming up with. And then instead of going onto every website and link and clicking the link to see what's on there, you would just need to click on images and just do a visual search to start with. This way it's a lot quicker to say, you know, I was thinking about it looking like that visually, and jot them down. And then go to the stores that you envision your idea in. Maybe it's in Walmart or Target. Those are gold mines, right? If your product's in there, it's right. It's a home run most of the time. But start to go into the stores that you envision your idea in, but also take a look and see what products are out there. And are they too similar to yours? Is there a big enough market to it? So these are the things that I think about when I'm going into the stores. And then I kind of put what I find together, whether it's online stores, online searches, in the stores, maybe even in catalogs. And then I give it to a patent agent or a patent attorney to do a professional patent search with a patentability opinion. Because what happens is you can go through all this, and I'll go through it in a couple slides from now. But you know, people get very excited, and when I say search with your eyes open, they're going down the aisle of Walmart and they're closing their eyes, going, "Oh my gosh!" Or even online, I don't see it. I don't see it. Oh my gosh, nobody has this in the entire world, but you're not looking and you're not digging because you don't want to find it, right? So search with your eyes open and capture the ideas that you do find or the products that are out there that are similar. This way you can have a better conversation with a patent attorney or agent to do that professional patent search. And what they're going to do is they're going to compare what you came up with to what's already existing and see if your idea is enough of a difference to be able to call your own. Okay? So now what? If there's you did this patent search, so you gave it to this patent attorney or agent, they go into the archives of the US Patent and Trademark Office library, they look to see either the visual, like the ornamental design of the idea, or they might go into the claims of a patent, and that describes really how an invention works. And they're going to see if your idea already exists. And if it was a similar idea and it was invented over 20 years ago, then it becomes public domain. So, Robin, you've heard of the Snuggie, right? You've heard of the Snuggie, right? So, that invention was done many, many years ago, over 20 years ago. And a marketing company said, you know what? It would be cute to call it the Snuggie, a blanket with sleeves. How cute is that? Right? But as soon as that happened and it started to do well, you saw many versions of the Snuggie come out, the Slanket and a million other versions. Why? Because it's over 20 years old. It's in the public domain, so anybody can make it. When I say 15 years here, that's for a design patent. That's only ornamental. It doesn't include the claims. It's not as powerful, in my opinion, as a utility patent. The claims in a patent means that it's almost like your property, like your territory line, and it talks about the works like, the purpose, the functionality. The design patent, which is the 15-year one, is just ornamental. It's just the way it looks. So a lot of times people can make enough of a difference to also get a design patent. It's not as hard to get, in my opinion. But it is something that is good if you say, I want to get a patent. And that's another alternative to get a patent. For those of you who might be in this world or you're listening and you might have heard this thing called a provisional patent application, what that does is that gives you the right for 1 year to say that you're patent pending while you're exploring the market. And before that year is done, you can convert it into the non-provisional patent application. So while you have the provisional patent application going, you can say that you're patent pending. Okay. So I show the patent attorney or agent, or I might do this on my own, but I encourage people to get a professional to do it. And by the way, I'm not giving any legal advice here. I'm not an attorney. I am pretty good at this stuff, but you are responsible for your own intellectual property searches and advice from a professional like a patent attorney or agent. So I pull up all the information that I find. I pay a patent attorney or agent to do this patent search. And by the way, a patent attorney went to law school. They can litigate. They can represent you in the court of law. A patent agent has the capability to speak on your behalf to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. When I say speak, communicate, to file patents and to talk about office actions representing you. So, is there enough of a difference from your idea to what already exists? Or do you stop here? Do you say, you know what? This is something that already exists. I'm not going to pursue it. If I do pursue it, then I might be infringing on somebody else's intellectual property if it's within the 20 years. Or if it's over 20 years, then it's in the public domain. And I can make it and you can make it and anybody can make it because it's in the public. Okay. So those are some hard decisions. And that's the hardest part. Doing what I do for all these years, when I kind of show people and help them to realize that they should stop, it's heartbreaking. Some people came up with it right away. Some people came up with it 4 years ago or 20 years ago. But the hard thing is to say, you know what? Let me put my time, money, energy, effort into something else and let me stop here. So you did that patent search and it seems like you're in the clear. Let's discuss next steps. All right. So you've heard these terms before, I'm sure. And I'm sure a lot of people watch Shark Tank out there. You made a reference to it, Robin, in your in the post. So people like to learn about what royalties are and also manufacturing. Maybe you want to start your own business. So let's dig in a little bit. So who are you? Are you somebody that's looking for a side hustle? Do you want this to be your full-time job? Um, what does all this mean? Well, you can work on an invention. You can have a full-time job and you can work on an invention, two inventions, 10 inventions, and hopefully you start to see some traction on them. And maybe your side hustle turns into a full-time job. Or you keep both and you balance your what it takes. It's not that complicated once you get used to it. You might put in a few extra hours, but hey, why not, right? You can keep both. Or do you want this to be your full-time job? Is this something that you want to go all in on? You want to give your undivided attention to, and you want to give it a shot. And hopefully you have enough of a ramp to be able to cover yourself just in case it doesn't work out. But let's say if it does, then you made a good decision. All right. So if you're looking to license it or if you're looking to start a business, let's dig in. Before we do that, though, before we do that, we're going to need a prototype. Okay. You've heard this term prototype. So you've heard 3D CAD. You can make an animated video. You might have seen some cute, animation or cartoony type of things. You can make a homemade prototype. So back in the day, I love to tell this story that um, I used to come up with all these like toy inventions, and my daughter was young at the time, and I used to rip her toys. I used to give it to her, and then all of a sudden, poof, her toy would disappear. I would rip the guts out of them. I'd take pieces of them. They wouldn't work after I was done with them. And you can simply make a homemade prototype. There's plenty of things that are out there already. Instead of doing a CAD file, which is a 3D design, a drawing on the computer that converts into a file that you can make a prototype, a 3D printed prototype of. It's pretty interesting. You can also do cut and sew. You can do wood. You can do metal. It's good to try to identify what you envision your idea to be kind of finished with, what type of material. Cut and sew is easy, right? You can go to a seamstress. You get some fabric, cut it up, or you do it yourself. I have somebody doing that right now. They're cutting up pieces and they're making their own prototype. Wood, you can find a wood cutter, metal, type of cutters and die cutters and benders and welders, and just try to keep it simple, just enough to kind of see it in front of you. That's one of my favorite parts, is like taking it out of my head and making it into something in front of me. It might be a little rough and crude, but it's okay. It's a start.
And
Just
and
get it out of your head.
and Brian, a lot of places have like maker spaces, right? Where you can go in and play around with equipment. You don't have to buy everything, right?
That's right. There are places, these days, Robin, it's so much easier to find a 3D printer. When I first started, I can't believe I'm saying that. That makes me old. But when I first started, I couldn't find anybody with a 3D printer. And now you could buy a desktop 3D printer. You could go to a local college
Yeah,
and go to their engineering department and ask them to help with a 3D animation, a 3D CAD file, or to make
yeah,
prototypes and to work on engineering if it's a little bit more complicated. But yeah, there's maker spaces. What that means, Robin, is most of the time these places have equipment for you to go in and to use their machines. And
yep.
sometimes they have the material there, or you have to bring it yourself, and they charge you for the machine time.
Yeah, Alfred's right. Sometimes go to your library. Good
You can
suggestion.
even
Yeah,
absolutely. I love that. You could go to your library
yeah,
and they have where you rent out time on the 3D print, but you do need to have your CAD file ready before you convert it. And there are really good software
yeah,
programs that you don't have to be a rocket science to figure this out, and you can make
yeah,
something, or you can even take things that already exist and kind of flip it into something to 3D print. It's so cool. And as the technology is going on, they're making 3D printers even faster. It's not it takes a long time. That's why, like,
yeah.
I've been doing this for a long time and I still haven't bought a 3D printer, because I think if I see that thing going 3 4 hours for a little thing, I'm gonna go nuts. So I'll just wait for it to get shipped to me. So that's 3D printing. So I mentioned this a little bit earlier about patents and but now let's step into trademarks and copyright. So patents, I mentioned to you, provisional patent application, utility patent, design patent. Let me show you a couple things. So I'll show you a couple of my inventions at this point, because I'll let you know what is a utility patent, what's a design patent, so you can get the idea. Let me stop sharing for 1 second. Okay. So one of my latest inventions is here, let me kind of show this to you. During COVID, it was so difficult to get paper goods, and I was bugging out, like I couldn't find anything, and what we did have, I kind of treasured every roll of paper towels that I had left. And I started to see things a little bit differently, I guess, when you're staying indoors for all that time. And I noticed that people, when they use the paper towels, usually their hands are wet or dirty and they put it on top and they pull the sheet off, right? And it looks something like this, a little exaggerated, right, Robin? It sounds
Gross, gross, totally
right.
gross. Yeah.
It looks, and I started to ask my friends and family to take a picture of the top of their paper towel rolls, and it was disgusting. So I said, I think I'm onto something here. So I came up with this cap, this cap that goes into the inner tube of any paper towel roll or any paper towel holder, right? And now when your hands are wet or dirty, you put it on top and you pull the sheet off and it stays clean and dry. So that's my paper towel topper. I get orders all day on Amazon. I sell it on my personal website, and I'm looking to break into some retail stores eventually. But it's fun, And this is a design patent because of the way that these are kind of designed here to fit. So that's my paper towel topper. And let me show you another one here. So this one, those of you who might have seen this set of tongues, right, by Farberware Professional, um, I used to buy these tongues, and this top piece that pulls up. Oh, thank you. You pull that piece up to lock. Well, when it wasn't locked, it would be like psh, it would pop open and then close and psh, pop open. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's like no kind of adjustment in between. So what I did was I came up with these grooves that go on this kind of plate here. And now you can open up your tongue, small, medium, and large opening. So if you're going to the store and you're buying a set of tongues, and this one has an extra feature for the same price, which one are you going to buy? Ding, 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 right? So that's my tongues. I'll show you one more. I was on QVC with this one I mentioned for several years, and I came up with this product because I didn't like that my bread was left open. I had bread that once you take the twist tie off, or like you try to figure out which way it was going to go, um, or it would poke me, or the plastic tabs, I tried to take it off and put it back on, pain in the butt. So what I did was I came up with this product called pull ties. These are the bigger version, and now you could take any plastic bag, cereal bag, freezer bag, or in the pantry, whatever you want, and you put it through the loop, and you push this, and it keeps it tight. So that's my pull ties, and these have been in every major retailer, drugstores, supermarkets, and sold a very nice chunk of those. And what's interesting is just a quick lesson. If I went on QVC and I said, this is for bread. Maybe you eat bread, Robin. Maybe you don't. Maybe this one eats bread. They don't eat bread. So I would be limited if I just said it was bread. But when I went into your cereal bags that are left open, freezer bags, right? You buy the club bags of French fries and vegetables, and they're left open. How do you close them? You go into the pantry. All these different things. So at the end of the day, when I went on QVC, it was almost like how many people have a kitchen, right? So that's why this was a big success. Um, Show you a couple more. So that's a utility patent. This is a utility patent because it's functionality. This one, so talk about germs. Back to the germ thing. I thought it would be cool to kind of replicate a scooper because I noticed this is even before COVID. People would kind of scoop pretzels, potato chips, ugh, gross, right, in a bowl. How do now they put tongs, very nice, all that stuff. But I thought it would be cool to have like a scooper. And I came up with this like ball that cuts in half so you can scoop and you can eat from it. And then I went to a company and I showed them my design, and they were in the middle of getting a deal with Sesame Street and Nickelodeon Ninja Turtles. And now at that point, my invention, my design patent had Elmo, Cookie Monster, and all the Ninja Turtles on it. So this was a big seller in Walmart. Now they're generic animal shaped type of figures on there. So fun stuff. I'll show you one more and then we'll get back to it. So one night I came home and there was no room left in my fridge. I had leftovers and it was very frustrating. I couldn't find a place to put it in the fridge. So I saw that there was a carton of eggs in there. I opened it up and there was one stinking egg left in there. And that was frustrating. All that space for one egg. So what I did was I decided to come up with this collapsible egg tray, right? So you put your eggs in, and as you take your eggs out, you push it back until it's that much space that you need. So I called this extra space. So just a couple quick ideas here, just to get you going, because I'm not inventing rocket science. I am working on somebody's wind turbine and generators and stuff like that, and medical devices, but my stuff is simple. So
Yeah, but it's not so simple. So you have to get them manufactured. You go to China? Is that
Well, sometimes yes, I work with China, Malaysia, Taiwan, India, but I also license these products. So, like when you
mhm,
saw Farberware Pro, this is licensed, so I earn royalties from it. These
right.
I earn royalties from, but I also
Yeah.
manufactured myself. These are licensed, so I earn royalties. So most of the time, these companies that I license to, and I'll explain it, every time they manufacture it, they distribute it, and every time one of them sells, I
Yeah.
earn a royalty from it. Okay, so that's some patents with the provisional, utility, design. The utility is sometimes called the non-provisional. It's a little confusing, but that's that. And then trademarks. So many of you see a TM on a product, right? What the heck does all that mean? Well, a TM is putting people on notice that you're using it in commerce in a certain class of goods. Okay. And then when you confirm to the US Patent and Trademark Office that you are using it in commerce, then the TM turns into an R. That's the and basically you're putting people on notice that you're using that name, slogan, uh, for that product or service. Maybe it's a service mark that you're. It could be other things too. It could be a color, like UPS. Brown is actually trademarked for that class of goods for delivery. It's really interesting. Coca-Cola, right? The Nike, the swoosh, right? So there's a lot of things that kind of convert that way. But once you start to work on something, it's good to put a TM on it immediately so you can put people on notice that you're using that name. Um, and then, well, it could be other things, but for this purpose, just a name. And then copyright. So I have my book, which is How to Make Money with Your Invention Idea. This is a copyright. Maybe you have recipe, cookbook, you have graphics. I even use copyrights for technical drawings. So let's say like this thing, I want to make a technical drawing out of it. And then I upload it to the copyright office and then I can protect it. So copyright lasts for a lifetime. Trademarks also, as long as you're using it in commerce.
Yeah.
So and then websites are copyrighted, right? So you want to try to put copyrights on things, whether you do upload them to the copyright office or not. You should always just put a C with the circle around it. All right. Somebody asked before about where I manufacture, but you can find places to manufacture either locally or overseas. Obviously, at this point, there's a lot of networking and people that we know and I know that can get things done, and I can pretty much make anything these days. But if you did want to find a local contract manufacturer, and you hear that word contract, that means that they're order takers. They'll make your product and they'll give it to you and do the
Yeah.
same for the next person. Sometimes people go to companies that are making aerospace parts and then you want them to make a little part for you, and it might be tough to catch their attention and keep their attention. So contract manufacturers are a good place. A great resource for that I love to share is thomasnet.com. And overseas, so let's say alibaba.com is a big one. You can find uh, most of the time it's Asian factories that will be listed
Yeah.
on Alibaba.com. There's Made in India. There's all these different
Yeah.
websites that you can find manufacturers to make your product.
Yeah, Alibaba and Brad, we've worked on this together, but it's pretty amazing. So they're AI driven now. So you say something like, I want 100 doll heads with blonde hair, and it'll put together your RFP that you want this, send it out to companies that it thinks you might be interested in, and process the whole thing. Like you literally do nothing, and
It's
then all the
amazing.
results come back to you. So you see, uh, uh, Brian and I re-met at a Alibaba Co-Create conference, and they were like pickleball manufacturers, who came up with a better pickleball paddle. There were, I can't even think of, these are just normal, everyday Americans who just thought they had a better way to do something. And Alibaba does make it pretty easy to source the parts that you want.
Absolutely. But you also have to be aware that some of them are distributors, so they're salespeople. And
Yeah,
then there's others that are direct factories. So if you're going to buy something that already exists, then most likely you're going to go to a supplier. And
yeah,
if you're looking to make something for yourself, you look for OEM that they're
yeah,
going to take your design and make it. So
yeah.
good stuff.
You've kind of only like scratched the surface. I mean, so imagine, you've got this product, yeah, but it needs instructions, it needs shipping, you need a tech support line. Well, when I used to run PC Magazine and we found a great product and we were going to give it an editor's choice, I would call them up and say, can you really handle this if we give you an editor's choice? Do you really have like a mailbox? I mean, are you set up to take the volume of calls and complaints? And it's really daunting task. We
Well, it's daunting when you don't know or you're learning and during the setup. But once you do get it set up, then it can pretty much be on autopilot. But it does take some. So yeah, you're right,
Yeah,
Robin. When you decide to manufacture, you have all the logistics. You have to make sure that your product design is perfect. You got to make sure that you pass the certifications. You got to do the instructions, the barcoding, handle accounts payable, receivable, all the logistics, the shipping agents, and everything else. Yeah, um, it's it's a
So
lot,
it's
but
amazing. It's amazing
yeah,
that any product ever turns into a product,
it's
actually,
unbelievable. But
right?
you know what? Those that do it and they make some noise about it that they sell, turn out to make some good profit margin. And some, I talk to people, Robin, and it costs them $1 to make, and they're selling it for 250. Or it costs them $5 to make, and they're selling it for 6. That's not a good business. That's the example I wanted to say. Like if they're making it for 5 and you're selling it, you're putting 5 in to make $1, that's not a good business. So you want to make sure most of the time, products need at least 5 times what it costs to figure out what your retail price should be, and then hopefully your margins are in there. But if this is something that is overwhelming, it's not something you have time for, it's over your head, then you might want to consider finding licensees. And I mentioned to you earlier, there are products that are on the shelf. That's the way I like to go and find them. Flip over the packages, write down the company's names that are similar to your product, and call them. Find them at trade shows. Go shopping and see where they are, what stores they're in, or you can find an agent. So me, I act as a licensing agent. I hunt all day. I call people. I message them. I People ask me to represent their invention, and I call up and I try to make deals. More times than none, I don't get a deal, and it doesn't mean that I suck or your product sucks. It just means that it's not the right time for them. They might be investing in their own products. They have their own pipeline of products, or they might be going bankrupt and you don't realize it, or you call somebody up and they're having a terrible day and they don't want to hear from anyone. But sometimes they say, "I love it, I want it, let's do a deal." So that's finding licensees. So just a quick thing of what a licensing deal looks like. So let's say a product costs $2 to make, and I sell it to Walmart for $5, and Walmart sells it for $9.99. Okay, so on the $5 wholesale, let's take an average royalty rate of 5%. 5%, that's so little. Well, how much you think these people make? The margins. They have all the logistics that they have to take care of. So, you've given them the rights to your intellectual property to rent for a certain amount of time. And as long as they're continuing to sell them, you're going to earn a royalty. So 5% of mass market, it seems like it's the average for many years at this point. So I gave you the $2 to make, $5 wholesale, $9.99 retail, $5 wholesale, 5%, 25 cents per unit. Okay, so they got to do enough volume and to be able to make it worth your while and their while. Somebody ends up giving you 10, 15% royalty, they're probably not going to have as much distribution as the other one that's doing 5%. So you'll feel better and you feel like you made that deal, but realistically, they're probably not going to sell as many as the high volume. Maybe they're in 10 independent retail stores, or you're taking the 5% that's in Walmart. So things to think about. So yeah, usually an agreement has terms like minimum guarantees. So let's say the first year, I understand you need to do the R&D, research and development, and prototyping and tooling, right? The tooling are like these big metal plates, tons, and they carve them out and they pour liquid in it, and then they pop open and it comes out, and then they assemble it and put it in a package. So that's kind of plastic injection molding. That's just one example. But usually like the first year is minimal of how many they need to sell the licensee. You're the licensor with the intellectual property, so they're the licensee. And the second year, maybe it's 100,000 and 250,000 and so on and so forth. If they hit those minimums, then they can continue the agreement. If they're not, then you can decide if it becomes non-exclusive, or you can terminate the agreement. Okay. I'm just giving you an example. This is not how every licensing deal looks like. Also with territories, maybe they just sell in the US, maybe they sell in Canada, different things, or overseas, and are you still going to get royalties even though you don't have a patent covered? So there's a lot of things within a licensing deal, but a lot of times they say, Brian, you give us the licensing agreement, or we have one, and we'll look it over together. Okay, so how can I sell my new product invention? So, look, these days, you don't have to be in a retail store to be successful. I mean, if you don't get into Walmart or Target, that's okay. Amazon.com, holy cow, like put up a product and everybody's buying. What's nice is that you have most likely a competitive advantage because you have a patent pending or a patented product at this point, and you have that competitive advantage. And that's also, by the way, with licensing, when you're licensing your product, you're giving them a competitive advantage for a certain amount of time. Okay, I don't know if I mentioned that, but let's get back to selling your own invention now, your own product, selling it as a product. Okay, so yeah, you have Amazon.com, you have Walmart.com, you have QVC, HSN. There's still catalogs out there that have converted to digital, and of course, brick and mortar. And it's not the easiest to get into retail stores. Most of the time, they work with established brands, and it's tough for us as independent inventors. The way buyers work, they have a certain amount of shelf space that they're given, and they have to produce. And if they don't produce, they're done. So they tend to go with Johnson and Johnson and Kimberly Clark and those type of things because if those don't do well, they go, boss, hey, what do you want me to do? It's Johnson and Johnson, right? So it's tough for us, but if you get enough traction out there and they take recognition of it, then they would consider putting it in. But keep knocking on those doors. All right. So I gave you kind of an overview. This is one of my copyrights that's on T-shirts and mugs and everything else. Eat, sleep, invent, repeat. And I wish you all the best with your invention ideas. Um, it's a journey. It's a journey, but there's a lot of fun things along the way, and it's not easy, especially when you don't know what to do. And that's why I've established all these communities to be able to have people network, communicate, socialize with each other. That's why I do these type of things. I want to get the word out to people so when they do come up with an idea that they have a start of what they need to do. And if they could do it on their own, that's great. I have an e-learning course called Inventor Classroom. I have my 1295 book. I do one-on-one consultations with people. I do whatever I can to get you to where you want to go. But look, I'm not the guy to pat you on the back and tell you everything's great and wonderful when you show me an idea. Like I said, most of the time, you're not looking the way I might be looking, or you chose not to look because you don't want to find it. And if I show you the same thing that already exists, isn't it better to stop now than to put, again, that time, money, energy, effort into it and go in a big circle and be left with less? So that's why I do what I do, and I wish you all the best.
Pretty good for a guy with a strep throat. So I really thank you. And but and I know you touched on things. I did as the editor of PC Magazine. I said I got to build something because I keep critiquing things. Very easy to critique things, very hard to build them. And it just turns out that you don't even notice some of the mistakes. So we built a watch, an election watch. It had I don't know, Al Gore. I can't remember the year. And the watch, we took their image, which was public domain. We articulated the arm, put it in a watch. It was a wind-up watch. Things were going great, sales were going great, and all of a sudden, returns are happening like crazy. My watch
Uh-oh.
isn't working. My watch. And I had a great engineer, and he realized it was in the Northeast. They weren't working. So in the cold weather, the arm would expand a little bit and get stuck
Uh-oh.
right at 10 o'clock. I said, that's it. I'm done. I'm never building anything again. I mean, so I think people just, you can't anticipate some of these things that will go
Yeah, it's
wrong.
tough. Returns are a big factor in stores. Look, how easy is it to return something on Amazon or to Amazon these days, right? Or what about when you use a
Yeah.
20% off coupon in the retail store? Who do you think's paying for that?
Yeah.
We are. The
No, it's,
manufacturer's paying for it. Walmart and Target,
yeah.
10% off coupons, they're not paying.
No.
Whoever you
Well,
use that coupon for is buying it, is taking it off.
AI will help with that. We can talk about that. But I do want to leave you all. I want to say thank you to Brian. And I do want to leave you all with like a gift. Why is my slideshow upside down?
No,
Oh,
it
is
looks
it
good.
you sing it forward? Okay.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking a lot about copyright. In particular, everybody's using Gen I, right? Gen AI to draw images and videos. And I've been thinking about this a lot and working for a client who asked me to create a rule book. Because right now, some 20-year-old in your office is generating AI images. Absolutely. It's sort of like the old ransom note and desktop publishing scenario that we used to have. So I wanted to just, before we close, just give you a couple of things to think about so that you do not end up behind bars or with people coming after you. So the good news about Gen AI is it does things super quickly and at a super low cost, and you can do the stuff it would take a full graphics team to do with one person. Um, the bad thing is that unless you are given some guidelines about your corporate, about the corporate logo, about the things that some guardrails to stop you from getting in trouble, you will get in trouble. Um, so I gave a couple of examples, and I did this, and this is like a rookie mistake. So what happens when you give the prompt? Draw me a picture of a guy drinking a can of Coke. What's wrong with that picture? Like,
Coca-Cola, you can't use their product.
that's right. And it used to be that some of the Gen AIs would actually say they wouldn't let you draw a logo, but lately I've been experimenting with them, and they do let you use a company logo. So it's up to you um, to really say, stay away from corporate logos, corporate colors like UPS, things that can just get you in trouble. There are trolls looking for this stuff all the time. Um, Another example, I gave it the prompt, and I swear I can't tell whether this was right, but I gave it the prompt, make me an image in Andy Warhol style. Um, and this is what it came up with. I don't know if I'm liable for that image. I don't know if Andy Warhol painted it. I can tell you, I use Google Lens a lot to go back and see if Google Lens can find me similar images so I can make sure that copyright isn't being violated. So it's another great example of you can say to a Gen AI, make me a drawing in the style of Picasso. You just can't say, make me a Picasso. So, so it's something to really think about. Um, um, I'm trying to figure out all my slides on my screen are flipped, and I can't figure out why because I can't read the text, but I'll keep going. So the other thing about Gen AI, there's a lot of millions of them now that let you generate for free, and they give you choices like um, put the blur effect, put the devil effect, put the happy effect. And I know, and and just because it has an effect, this is a lot like desktop publishing ransom note idea. Just because it can do it doesn't mean you want to do it. Typically, you have a corporate look, you have corporate colors, you have corporate things that you want to adhere to, whether it's your small brand or a larger brand. So this was a product called DaVinci AI that started, and it's so easy to fall down the rabbit hole of thank you. The rabbit hole of using every effect in the book just because you can. Like, why would you put a pointillist effect on something that had nothing to do with pointillism? So just because they prompt you that you can do it, don't do it. Next one, same thing. The first time I tried using the Delta logo, it actually wouldn't let me do it. Now it lets me do it. So I would exercise extreme caution and stay away from images like this that use any kind of brand that has a copyright, a trademark, or a logo. Um, um, I don't know. I don't know if any of you, and I did this across different programs because I really wanted to experiment. So Meta Image Tool, to their credit, in the lower left side, watermarks your image as created by AI. that is a step in the right direction of authenticity. Um, and it was nice to see. It's not super noticeable. Some AI programs will let you embed an invisible watermark that is only readable by the pixels um, in your image. And a lot of people are using that. And I think I've given a talk about this before on two ways that you can avoid, you can spot deep fakes, and some is with watermarks. Um, Bias, another issue that's really serious about AI. So, and I'm sure you can think of a million better ones, but basically, I just said, draw me a princess. And trust me, every princess over and over again was a white princess. And it was only when I said, draw me a black princess, that I got the drawing on the lower side. I did the exact same thing. I did this images of Native Americans over and over and over again, hoping for a woman, but it never happened. So it's just something that you should be intrinsically aware of, that these products are trained on what's out there, and the images that are out there, and the biases that are out there, and the body of materials that are out there. And you need to be super aware of that. And it seems to go across whatever image program you use. And then so I started to think about, what do you have to do to protect yourself? So you now see there's bias, there's applying really ugly things that you don't need. But what is adequate attribution that will keep you out of trouble? So I think, at minimum, and this was the prompt, draw a photorealistic typical engineer. And I think at minimum you want to say, generated by Adobe Express, based on the prompt, draw an engineer. Once you start instituting yourself, you know how the GenAI says to you, do you want to tweak this? Do you want to write more? Once a human, you the human, is modifying the image, I think you really want to say, drawn by Adobe Express with the help of John Doe. And I think it's going to be great for the artists. It's going to make artists really happy that they're involved in this process and getting the credit. And I think it's going to leave you safe during this attribution. So you're naming the AI, you're naming the prompt that you use, and you're naming the human that was involved. And I think if you're doing it in publications and scientific papers, it gets even crazier. So then you really want to add more detail. And here's one. This is from the IEEE's standard, and you can see that they cite the version of Dolly that they use, the date it was created, who made Dolly AI, because part of the problem is I could give the same prompt to the same program again, and I will never get the same image again. So it's very hard to do proper attribution. And as you roll Gen AI, and we're only talking about images here, we'll soon be talking about movies, um, where I think the advice is, for now at least, just put an opening screen saying this was created using Sora, and or one of the other um, movie
Robin,
images. Yeah.
can I ask a quick question as we go by this? What about using alt text instead of writing it all out in the body of the publication? Do you have a feeling about that? I mean, it still gets all that information in there, but it's just not in your face so much.
All text, like not a caption, like more different than a caption.
Yeah, alt text is what if you hover over it, it'll pop up, and it's for people who with visual impairment and that sort of stuff. But
You
it
know,
could be a way to stash all that information without having to stumble over it.
I think that's good. I've been doing it just in captions, smaller type than the rest of the body, but I think that is worth exploring. Hovering, anybody else have something to add? Hovering is good. It's like watermarking is good. But the interesting thing about watermarking, let's just say I take that image that you watermarked and I compress it, or I save it in a different format. That watermark doesn't work anymore. So it's super complicated, that you change one thing, and uh, that watermarking doesn't work. So it's really complicated. And then, but I like the alt text, I think. I would have to check that out more. Um, I've been talking to universities, libraries, academics, a couple of programs like Witness that deals with journalistic integrity in an AI age, because I think we're just going to find it. So here's another one where I could have just said, draw a picture of a human female and an AI collaborating with my GenAI program, but instead I added myself also because I did do a few iterations, lighten this up, make the computer more prominent. So I really did have a role in it. I do think this will get sorted out over time. Watermarking is 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 one thing. Metadata is another that people are working on. So to your naked eye, and blockchain. So to your naked eye, you will never see any of this, but the metadata is stored and you know if an image has been used inappropriately. It's not quite there yet. Um, and so I kind of broke this down into three areas. Fairness and bias, inaccuracies, just, and this is human watching. You have got to watch these images and just do a double check that uh, this looks all right to you, that this, and even as far as, let's just say you drew a picture of the Amazon River with a town next to it, the town of Maconda. I don't know. I'm watching 100 Years of Solitude, but you really want to check and see if the Amazon River really has a river, next to a town named Maconda. I mean, you just cannot right now take Gen AI's word for it, though it is getting better quickly. Data privacy and security, um, and but the important one, I think, and this is where I think you cannot get hurt if you're just transparent and accountable. And it's funny, Alfred and I went through a little situation, and Alfred, it turned out that place that was after me was probably a scam place. Um, they accused me of using an image without proper copyright. And I said, this came from a magazine. I didn't use the image, but I wrote to the magazine, I was allowed to reprint it. Anyhow, they went away after about 5 interchanges, and I checked them out on Reddit and a couple of other places, and they have this reputation for just attacking people. But Alfred knows because he got copied on this. It would have cost me $900 to settle this thing, so I fought it instead, and they went away. So, but you want to be transparent and accountable, and you have pretty good defense right now.
Just let me add that this was not Getty. And when Getty calls, you answer and do whatever Getty asks you to do, because it's a whole lot cheaper to do what they want than to fight Getty. They're big dogs.
Yeah, yeah. Getty, Shutterstock. Yeah, you want to be really careful. But by the way, like, so Shutterstock now has, as a creator, you can make money off of a Shutterstock image. So if you create something and put it on Shutterstock and they sell it, you get a piece of that money. So you're seeing this thing um quickly morphing. And so I wrote this white paper for this organization. I said, what we write today isn't there. And interestingly enough, so much like desktop publishing, they wanted to make it so that only a few people in the corporation could use Gen AI. And I said, well, that would be really sad, because it's just like the receptionist who used to know desktop publishing. You will find the artist in your company. You will find the person who really understands this medium, and they can be anywhere. So I said, what I would rather see in a corporate situation is everybody can use it internally, but the minute it gets published externally, it needs a series of sign-offs in the company. I don't know, Sherry, do you have anything like that going on at Freeman?
There's so much going on at Freeman with AI right now. And we started an AI task force right after Camp Buck, our leadership conference in August of 2023. And we are now training everyone where we work on a series of exchanges where all of our executives hit each office. We're doing a very simplistic AI learning roundtable. So every employee is starting to get versed in AI. But there is so much going on safety app that's been put in place using AI. We actually won the NATO business this past year using AI, and it's an interesting case study. And we let them know that we were using it for,
Yeah.
designing the staging and whatnot, and even to kind of look at kind of what we thought our competitors would be submitting. We have through Sparks, they have a responsive, I think it's responsive IO that they're now responding to, or some parts of RFPs are being generated, which makes a lot of sense. And there is, I'm not sure what the name is, but for our customer service folks, there is an AI tool that they're using to kind of actually help figure out where things need. And I was just on a call with Kadar. I think you met Kadar, and he just showed us an internal project where they're using it for dynamic floor plans, for taking photos of buildings and now being able to kind of figure out how placements for everything. So there is so much going on in this
much.
area. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah. Well, we had that most fun one. And if you go to our LinkedIn page, we actually have the first keynote delivered by an AI. And Reid Hoffman's Reid
Wow.
AI is going to be giving our keynote at Silicon Valley Video Summit in conversation with the guy that created him. And it's been fascinating. It's so the AI was trained on everything Reid ever said, did, wrote, ChatGPT, and then a replica of him was created, and so he can have a pretty good conversation. He didn't even have to be there.
Yep.
So with that, any other questions, thoughts? Okay, so we will meet in January. I think we're going to do a CES wrap up. We're going to bring some of our young creators to hear the world that they saw at CES through their eyes. And we'll have a lot of other new news in the fall. But everybody, thanks for making the time. Have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. Brian Freed, thank you so much for all your expertise.
You're
And we'll
absolutely.
see you in the new year.